we have all kinds of sacred questions inside of us. What's the meaning of our lives? What's the purpose of our lives? What about death? All these deep questions of meaning. And so it seems to me that every wisdom tradition that I know anything about, East and West, is in the first instance a way of knowing that invites us into understanding the unity of all things and learning about how to integrate ourselves more deeply into the unity that we are and the unity that's all around us, the oneness. And every wisdom tradition gives us practices that help that happen, that help us claim wholeness. The Clearness Committee is a practice invented in the middle of the 17th century by the early Quakers, who believed deeply, as I believe, that every person has an inner teacher, a source of inner truth, which for me is the same as soul or selfhood or identity and integrity. And the question was how to help people get in touch with that, how to open a person's life to hear that inner truth more deeply, because we all know how difficult that is in the noise of the world and in the rush of our lives and with our own egos constantly at work. A small group of people, 5 or 6 people, gather for 2 hours with a person who's got a question that he or she is wrestling with, an issue, a problem, a decision they're trying to make, a discernment they're trying to make. And for 2 full hours, those 5 or 6 caring, competent adults operate with a very simple rule. They cannot speak to that so-called focus person, the person with the issue, in any other way except to ask an honest, open question. It sounds simple, but if you imagine not only the length of time involved, 2 hours, but what's involved in asking honest, open questions, which turns out to be very challenging and very demanding. Have you thought about seeing a therapist is not an honest, open question? It represents the kind of question we like to ask, which is sort of, has built-in advice. We ask a question as if we had a question, when in fact we're trying to advise someone. And the purpose of this process is to lay all of our advice aside, all of our wisdom, all of our guidance, all of our thoughts about what this person ought to do, and to create a space that's to be occupied by that person and that person alone, to listen as closely as possible to his or her inner teacher, aided by questions that strip away whatever obstacles may lie between my ears and my truth. I feel a huge sense of responsibility about this. I always have and I always will. I feel fierce about it because I'm the person who has said to several people, in this case including myself, we're going to create a space here in which your soul will be safe. I've offered that as a promissory note. And I take that very seriously. I've been around the human potential movement too long, and I've seen too many people wounded, even though safety was promised. They were invaded, exploited, manipulated. I do not want that to happen on my watch. Period. Amen. And so I want to put this in such a way that you get a little scared about your responsibility, because you should be. Not so scared you're paralyzed and not able to do it, but aware that we are suspending the normal rules of social discourse in a very profound way and inviting you into a parallel universe, an alternate reality. The core of that alternate reality is very simple. It is the conviction that this person has an inner teacher, has wisdom and truth within herself or himself, does not need, at this moment, in time, our wisdom, our inner teacher, our guidance, instead needs access to that voice within, which, as we all know, gets obscured and blocked by all kinds of things, external static, internal static. But we can, in 2 hours this morning, create a quiet space with those honest, open questions that help people remove whatever it is that stands between their awareness and their inner teacher. The Clearness Committee is, in a lot of ways, a microcosm of the whole circle of trust process. And when we ask people, as we've been doing for more than a decade now, of all the things we did in a circle of trust, the working with poetry, the silence, the journaling, the small groups, what would you say is the pearl of great price? So many people say it was the Clearness Committee that brought this all home and that really was transformative.